Hey Jeff, how's it going?
Oh, all right.
Cool. Let me see what we get today. I don't know. Little bit of a. We'll see if we get some folks call in and we can go through stuff. Hey Shruti.
Hi, folks.
Hey Jeff. While we're waiting
Yep.
for a couple other people to join, well, I guess we'll just wait. I was trying to pick up the link, Jeff, for the spec, and not sure if I have it correct.
For the profile.
The profile, yeah. Well, and yeah, you've got some kind of like spec language there too. Let me see here. Is oops. Let me try to share and see. Ask you while we wait for one or two other joins. I keep coming to this one. And oh, but this one is focused in this power shelf. Does it just keep going to some other thing?
No, no. Well, I don't. Well, yeah. Go click on that. Click on
Yeah.
requests.
And
No, no. Go up to pull request because that's just below that right there,
yep,
and then
got
you'll
it.
see sustainability down there about halfway through the profile. There you go.
This one, got it. Okay. And then let me see. Is it in one of these files too, so far as like the one that we had some of the
Yes.
language?
Yeah, and then it's it's the second file. It's just profile markdown, and then you can either look at the diff or just that's the one up. And if you go over to the three dots there, you can have it. You can just have it view the file.
This
Not
one,
there.
right?
No, no, down to the next file. Yeah.
Profile. Oh wait, this one .md.
Yes. Yeah, click that one. There it is. That's it. That's it.
And then click here and view file, right?
There it goes.
There it goes. Okay, that's how I got it. Okay, good. Cool. Let me kind of queue that up and then see. Um, hey Shruti. So let me see. Are we expecting anybody from other groups, Shruti, or how want to double check?
Oh, a number of folks actually accepted that because I sent it to like all of OCP sustainability members.
Uh-huh.
So a number of folks have actually sent accepts for that, but I don't quite know. Maybe they are not actually joining. I'll say about
We just make
there are actually about 10 folks who have accepted.
Oh, interesting. Okay, we'll give them a few more minutes here. I'm trying to look to see if I got any weird emails like asking about it or anything. I don't
Yeah,
think
if there is anything coming up, any email coming up that, hey, the link is not working for us or something kind of thing, then maybe. But otherwise, if this does not work and folks are not joining here for review, we'll again try to schedule in the main meeting.
we can do another one sometime or come into one of your forums. And maybe I mean we can use the time for that. So if I go back to this, right? So this is the whole because it felt like we've done some catch up, and then I've met a few times too with a few other folks that are kind of coming in from these other angles, and most of them I think are like maybe a little out of scope, like they're looking at other things, but um, at the same time I want to make sure I'm not missing something. So if we look, I want to double check and just make sure that maybe you can kind of catch Jeff and I up on the latest, right? So here's the sustainability area, right? And double check if these are all still accurate. So we got the carbon accounting for circularity. Um, that's embedded carbon, carbon disclosure, kind of some more carbon modeling. I know Deb's kind of taken that over. I know a little bit about that.
Yeah, that work stream's name is a little misleadingly set up, I guess. But yeah, that's been the name from the beginning now. So yeah.
Yeah. And then Sammy's work group, pretty okay with. This is the one that we definitely want to feed into.
Mhm.
And it seems like I did ping him a little while ago if he has something that we could look at here. And he said not quite yet. So far as their metrics and what they're looking for. I guess I should probably note that in
Yeah,
our
he wanted to get because he was planning of building a higher level sustainability profile, and then my imagination is that that will be hierarchical, and the lower hierarchy of that would point to this sustainability profile work.
Yep, data center
Yeah.
efficiency metrics. That's
Yeah,
what.
so he wanted to build a first draft of that and then, speak to you folks and some other folks in DCF.
Got it. Okay. And then of course, this one here. Oh, we had some other, we had a mission. Maybe I'll have to create one or update it and put it in here. Okay. So that's it. And
Actually,
then
paste
it's
the mission statement or just paste it to me in email and I'll get that updated. But yeah, all of these should be updated. We did a scrubbing of this page just 2 months back.
okay. And then is there just I guess a little bit of like an umbrella work group that you're running? That's like the 5 p.m. Pacific Wednesday or something like that?
5 p.m.
It
Pacific.
seems like there was one other meeting that you were running, but maybe that's just sort of like a overall alignment work group or something. The one that we were
Oh,
originally
that's the
gonna
main
present?
meeting. Yeah, that's not a work stream. That's the main OCP sustainability meeting, like
Just the
where
main.
we had, where we had also invited, like recently we had invited the GHG protocol director. The day, you folks were going to present in the main
Right.
work stream, but that speaker needed time.
Right.
Yeah, that's the overall meeting. So there's just a once a month, all of us, irrespective of work stream, whoever is involved, we want to meet, right? That's that overall meeting.
In sustainability.
Yeah, and we little bit, talk about if there was regional summit, that might be one of the agendas. If there is a speaker, that might be agenda. If some of the work streams have updates, then we convey the updates, either through the co-leads or through, one of us, me, Eric, Alex.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that also gives us a chance for other other projects and initiatives to talk to the sustainability team. Although we haven't had a lot of requests, but in theory, that's one of the reasons that meeting's there.
Yeah, we've had some co-leads from other projects come and present what is happening in that project also.
Got it. Okay, cool. So yeah, so I think we can either, let me see it. So I think it's just us four then. Okay, is there, so I mean, all I was gonna do, and maybe we can do a quick 2-minute version if nobody shows up, and then if we need to, like you said, give it a chance and come into the other one. Give us a
Yeah,
little.
I mean, my idea was we want to put this in front of a lot more eyes and
Yeah,
let them know that this is sort of coming.
yeah. Yeah, so I was just gonna think of kind of like a single slide and then maybe just kind of scroll through what Jeff has posted. But just aligning them on sort of our status and what we've kind of decided to do. Namely, aligning on the, go ahead. Question?
No, sorry, I just coughed.
Good. So aligning on the compute server is focusing on that first. That's come up a lot, right? People have come in from sort of this like, hey, are you talking about like the facility power conversion as it comes in and stuff. And so I think that's probably a pretty good alignment to let them know that we're starting sort of bottoms up. And that we've done a lot of these discussions on sort of like what components and sampling and accuracy and attribute sets and the naming and all that. Like we had a lot of discussions and alignment on that. And basically those are what's captured in this. Should I just call this, should we call this, Jeff, like a redfish energy sustainability profile, or what should we kind of call this?
I've just been calling this sustainability profile because until we hear otherwise, I don't think we want to create I don't think we want multiple sustainability profiles. So
Yep.
But
Yeah, I agree.
we're going to have hard enough time getting folks to go run tests and to comply with one set of specs. So multiple sets seems like they're going to time out on us.
Yep.
You're suggesting just call it sustainability profile, right?
This
Not, or do you want to call it redfish sustain?
Well, let me see. So
Well,
do you just call them manageability? I mean, it's redfish, that's the protocol. So I'm not sure. In other work groups, you just call it like redfish manageability, or how do you, yeah.
I would use one word or the other, not both.
because your other work group is on manageability, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, so that profile is it named as manageability profile? Like what I'm asking is it named as redfish manageability profile or just manageability profile?
I think redfish is the superset, right? API and specification. And then what OCP has been doing is creating, profiles of mandatory and optional elements of the redfish extended capability set.
There you go. I like
And so
that. No, take out word
sustainability profile is the right kind of name, right? What we're trying to do is establish what's required to be OCP compliant.
how does
I would,
Yeah,
I like what you've got there. I would just drop the word manageability there.
just do what?
Yeah, just sustainability profile probably works. You don't need manageability.
Yeah. So I was actually and I was going to suggest one more thing. Do we want to call it OCP sustainability power profile?
Or energy?
I'm just wondering because
Energy is better, yeah.
energy is fine, yeah, sure.
Like energy, yeah. Ooh. Okay.
In anticipation of more than one sustainability profile, is that where you're headed?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I see what you're saying. Because there might be some tag for like circularity or something. Okay. And then Jeff, is this a fair statement? Like kind of preparing, or is this almost like, or should I say it will be compliant with the other other tools that are used to.
No, those exist. Those tools exist.
Yeah, so it's really like we should say that the OCP, how about this? So maybe OCP sustainability, energy profile will be I don't know, compliant or so. How should we say that it can be run basically through those tools and kind of give them that feedback, right? That's what we've talked about. How should I say enables automated verification. Do you guys call that like a OCP compliance tool or something, or what do you guys call that checker?
Well, it's not an OCP tool, but it is an open source piece. So it is called the interop validator or the profile validator. So you can use either one of those terms.
Okay. Profile.
But that's what it does. It validates that a product meets the profile requirements.
And that like so that's open source, but it's not OCP. I guess I mean in our spec we can certainly reference it and say they
Well,
have
that is the tool you're going to use to do that. So
yeah.
if you want me to give you a link to that.
We can, I think as long as it's like in the spec, that's fine. Let me see, it was energy profile. It was automated verification of spec compliance.
Danny, as you finalize this, I also see Sarayu and Sujata have joined, but I don't know if you still want to just do the review in the main meeting. Then I want to at least inform them because
either
guessing they've joined with an expectation. So
yeah, thank you for noticing. I'm fine either way. Do you think we kind of need that for like some of your bigger audience goals and stuff, or?
I mean, since a lot of folks couldn't join this time slot,
yeah.
I feel like it'll still be good if we do the review in the main meeting.
Yep.
If you want to do that, yeah, we can inform them that, it's rescheduled. We are not doing the review right here. Of course, they are still free to join.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a good plan. So yeah, so for anybody that just joined, right? We kind of decided to make this a working session, like Shruti mentioned, since there's probably going to be a few that aren't here that we're trying to get the message out. But so we'll do a little bit of a working session, but feel free to just ask questions. We can certainly go through anything that you might wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Shruti. That's good to know, because I did join with the intention that you would be doing a review of, what is it, the first draft of the, because you said you drafted the spec along with the profile. I'm very interested in looking at that.
Yeah. So when we can even do that today, I think a little bit too, because we got kind of in prep of the other review, but I'm good with that.
Was that the review you were talking about, or is it something else? I'm not sure.
It's basically just that, right? There's
Okay.
like kind of these things that you heard us kind of working through and wordsmithing a little bit of. There's been a lot of kind of these anecdotal, and Jeff and I have fielded a few over the last few weeks of like, what is this work stream? How does it fit with others? So a little bit of this just high level alignment of like what's in scope, what's not in scope, how we're planning to kind of work. So hopefully you caught a tail end of that, or if not, I can go back through it. And then just prepared this like we mentioned, this sustainability energy profile from the redfish manageability profiles that are common within OCP. And we're going to cut over in a minute and just kind of look at that and see if there's anything we need to add to that, or just start going through the process of getting feedback to get that as an initial release.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would very much be interested in the second bullet item, the power reported for key components.
Okay, cool.
That's of interest, and so are the other two bullet items.
Got it. Okay. So with that, I think yeah, did I get this? Yeah. So here's where we're at right now. And I guess in a minute we want to talk about the mechanics if this is already in a place. I think it is in all the open places to kind of receive feedback, but maybe other folks haven't been aware that we're pointing to that. But just prepared this, right? Just goes through very, 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 very quick overviews and the use cases that we had discussed previously. And then the expectations, right? So the first things we have here is in and around the product identification and what we're doing. And maybe, Jeff, we might need, I'll probably grab some notes here. I'll do it separately here on things that we may need to add just as far as language, but probably want to repeat some of those points that I was just making around staying with, I don't know if we noted here how we're this is applicable to a compute server, and other stuff will be in subsequent drafts. Let me see if I understand. Okay.
Well, yeah, and I think that the way that we've got it written today, I think you're right. What we probably need to add is really just it's actually more of a statement about the exceptions, and that is, you know, this does not cover, this should cover anything in the data center except for the power distribution equipment, because that has because those have different models. And those requirements will be covered more generally by those equipment profiles anyway. So it would be duplicative, and it's also separate data. So it's like I don't need to make a separate profile for power equipment to say you need to report power and energy for sustainability, because that's already going to be a requirement for that equipment, that class of equipment, you know, regardless of sustainability efforts.
And Jeff, when you say that, you're talking about like UPS and genset, you're not talking about PowerShelf, right? PowerShelf does need a profile.
Correct. Yeah, a PowerShelf would go under the list of like IT gear. So yeah, it's kind of like rack PDU and above is where we kind of step out into a different equipment model.
Copy. Yeah.
Actually, that's probably a good one to kind of draw that line, like you said, rack PDU and above will fall under, like you said, equipment specific profiles and standards that we already know will meet these energy reporting requirements. And are those handled in your manageability work group as well, or are they
Yes. Well, so the manageability work group, there's a profile work stream that handles all the creation of these profiles, unless somebody else does it, which, you know, I think we know what that answer is. But so we create those profiles in that work stream, and then But our work stream has no teeth to specify those requirements. So we create the profile, and then it's up to those other working groups to basically point to those profiles as part of their specifications. So the rack and power team would say, for an OCP, rack PDU, you shall, your product shall conform to that profile. Click here.
Yeah.
So so it would be up for a server. It would be up to the server working group to say, or sustainability to say. I don't know if we've heard yet where the specification level teeth will come from for sustainability pieces, but. So, but it will be one of those, it'll either be the server or the sustainability work group will say, in order to meet OCP sustainability requirements, one of those is, that, you shall meet the requirements of the sustainability profile.
Right. And I think we do need to push that back to the server team and back to the facilities team, because no one's going to come over here looking for it. So we got to put
Exactly.
it where look for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was, and John Leong and I did have number of conversations about, where did the ownership lie for this stuff? So it's like, well, it needs to be with the subject matter experts. And this is not unique to the profile work, but it's, from manageability perspective, management touches all the stuff. But we're not the subject matter experts in all the stuff. So it's like, we will make sure try to get a consistent story and methodologies. But in terms of like what you actually need to be able to accomplish, that needs to be driven by those other working groups. So yeah, so that all aligns. And I think they'll have to have the same conversation for sustainability overall, because like manageability, this is going to touch every product, or every product category that OCP covers. And so the question is, where do you want that authority to lie? And I think we would probably want to make a consistent story there too of, we can help on the sustainability fronts and help with the definitions, but the teeth in terms of specification requirements, that has to go, back to the working groups that define the class.
So I think we are just missing that link and mention of that manageability work group, and the fact that there are other profiles at OCP that are required for OCP compliance. We probably should add a sentence or two on that, right? So.
Well, and there's a straightforward element to this too, Danny, right? Where you're doing a compute server profile. So obviously the server work group needs to end up receiving it.
Okay. Yeah.
So one question here, Sujata here. So those numbers, are we saying like the requirement is below, or like, something like that? Or, and also, do we have any like an average kind of thing? So like, maybe some device may have higher power requirement, but then it's not up. So overall,
You're saying on how much you're saying, is the spec gonna mention how much power, like an actual like joules or watts that are permitted? No. Yeah, good question. So, and maybe we even need to clarify that spec.
Yeah, like efficiency, right? Some devices are put to sleep when they're not in use and things like that, right?
Got it. Okay. So yeah, so I just noted this and I'll work some language. Yeah. So what this spec is it is a telemetry spec, so far as like, what are the expectations for reporting? It's not a spec which provides limits on how much power can be consumed, right? So we're not going to, for instance, say, you must support a sleep state, and the sleep state needs to be under X watts. It's just simply say that you need to report power or really energy. You need to report it with some level of accuracy, some level of cadence. You need to have these other descriptors and
so basically it's just reporting like where you are, kind of thermometer kind of thing.
Purely telemetry. It's purely an energy telemetry.
Okay.
This is not like reduction targets. It is mainly aimed at having that visibility.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, that's a good question, and you're right.
So then also, do we have to put like, maybe do we want to put something like over the period of time?
The idea is that it's essentially
Like-
continuous in reporting. That we do have some notes in here around sample rate and things like that.
Okay, okay, yeah, so like, this is like kind of a snapshot kind of thing, right? So, but then,
Yeah. So the way these work, right, is these are out of bound telemetry available to the data center operators, running this Redfish API, and the system needs to be reporting out through to the system and to anything the data center wants to go grab, however it's going to aggregate that with its software and so forth.
okay, got it.
Yeah, okay, so that's good. So I'll add a little bit of that. But scrolling through, right, the basics of like reporting like what the device is and its location and things like that. Some upfront stuff there here. And then these are all right from the Redfish chassis URI, Jeff. I forgot what that is.
No, that's just that's the location, right? That's where you execute the API.
Got it. And then we've got all the properties here, right? These are all consistent. And then we've got, of course, which ones. And so we've come together between whether something is mandatory, and then I think we have some, recommended, right?
Yep.
And the tool will comply against this as well. And then calling out what type of chassis it is.
Hey,
Hmm?
on the recommended but not mandatory, I mean, I realize we don't want everything to be mandatory, but if we don't make the location information mandatory, how are we supposed to go triangulate energy carbon intensity data? So in theory, what we want to do is generate a footprint, right? So if
Correct.
you give us energy telemetry, if we know where and when you took that measurement, in theory, we can go look up the carbon intensity of the energy at that location at that time.
Yeah, so Eric, so this is the area that this is the good conversation to have. So yeah, you're 100% correct. The difference the issue that we're going to have with the industry is that the location information that you see on the screen here, which is absolutely the direction we want people to go, these are relatively new additions to the Redfish spec, which based on feedback we've gotten from OCP and the various groups, that and I can't remember the old RFC that the location data was based on. It's some ancient RFC. It was just unwieldy, and so we're like, what? It's been out there. We've had it in our specs for 8 or 9 years, or 7, 8 years by now. By the time we did this, no one has implemented it properly, and so it's not going to get any better. So we created a new set of location properties to much better align with like the modern usage of this data, and so that's what you see on the screen. And so that's a recent addition to the spec. So and again, this is what we can talk about this. I've marked them here as recommended because if we, the question is going to be, what is it going to take for a product to pass the profile today? So if I run this profile against any shipping OCP product, it will not pass if I mark those as mandatory. So the question is, where do we want to put the bar? Do we want to put it a little lower with the recommendation, say you need to get there because otherwise you cannot do all this calculations, just as you said. And recommended certainly should also be we are setting the direction. So profile 2024 says that's recommended, and it's exactly for those reasons that we need it. Profile 2025 probably makes those mandatory, so get on with it.
Yeah, and that's
we can absolutely have that conversation. I'm not.
Yeah, I just want to capture the fact that we will need it. I think so. Right now, I don't have a place for you to look up with any granularity what the energy intensity is at a location at a time. But that's an independent effort to go make that information
exactly available. Yeah. So this is kind of the meat in the middle. But yeah, we got to set.
And one possible, if there's a security concern here too, right, where people don't want someone to be able to come in through a standard interface and figure out where the server is physically, and then go bomb it or whatever. We could talk about putting an energy zone ID in there, but that would be a brand new construct too. That would take time to stand up.
Well, the other thing might be, like you said, it's either like, oh, I know where it's at, and so I know that data center, and I know it's 80% renewable or whatever, or it is.
And then that's all we've got right now, right, Danny? Is something like watt time, right? So, what region of where are you? And it's not some of them are updated pretty frequently. Some of them are updated like just a couple times a year, right?
Exactly.
So the fidelity and granularity of that information's pretty coarse.
Right. But like you said, that's kind of the use case people are wanting to do.
Yeah, and that's today, to Jeff's point, right? In a year, we expect it to be better. In 5 years, it'll be a lot better.
Right. But you bring up a good thing, which is like, if they just don't want to for like security, then I was just looking back through this. I was like, well, maybe they provide like if they provide their own lookup table, which says like, hey, these servers are here, or even within, I mean, again, this is maybe like second or third rev, or maybe the leading edge people do this right away. It's like, hey, you could conceive of getting all the way down to like, whether it's a unique chassis ID or the combination of the chassis and then where it resides in the rack and all that. I know that's part of the location hierarchy, but then the data center operator says, hey, I'm going to be able to tell you if I had 80% renewable, and I've done my own accounting and just said, hey, these servers are, quote, the ones getting the 80%, right? I mean, physically, that may be a little bit of that's not maybe physically true, but at the same time, hey, if you're only 80% renewable, you should only take, only 80% of the servers should be able to take that credit. Some other 20% need to be traditional energy. And so if we're all doing the right kind of accounting, I could conceive of data center operators saying, look, I have a methodology. If you know where you're running, I'll tell you if it was green or not green or whatever, right? I guess
I don't think we want to make sure, we don't want to put the onus of knowing the energy intensity on the data center operator.
Right.
But they would, otherwise, like you said, then it's just going to be assumed based on.
No, it's got to be an independent source of information that's time correlated, time and location correlated.
But in cases like I said about a data center that's partially renewable or whose renewable energy changes by hour, day, whatever.
Yeah, time of day and day of the week. Yeah, and that's exactly the problem, right? So if you wanted to, as an orchestrator of work, even if you're using somebody else's data center equipment, right? And they don't know in detail what you're doing, right? You could try to avoid that 20% renewable by load shifting away from the leaker plant's active hours, right?
Yeah.
And then claim a higher renewable fraction. So in order to make it possible to do that, we actually need pretty good fidelity in this data, right?
Right. And so I think whether that becomes a data center operator owned or third party or something.
I think because we have to support colos, we can't have it in our heads that it's the data center's responsibility.
Okay. I mean,
This is basically in order to make where did it go? The location mandatory or not?
Yeah.
But I thought the initial concern was that if it is made mandatory, then
they would all
right
fail.
at the start of time when the device is being shipped, how would it have the correct location already put in and pass the checks?
Well, no, the theory, Shruti, is that by the time it's up and you can get at it and redfish and interrogate it, it knows where it is. It's part of its setup.
Yeah.
It's not when it is, the concern is not when it's being shipped. Okay. So
more like you would run the checker when it's deployed.
Well, yeah, so some of these points about these are the requirement to meet a profile is going to be that's a product definition, manufacturer level kind of decision or check. While a user could could go run these validators. This is really the really should be the way for the the data sheet should say, I meet the requirements of the OCP manageability profile or sustainability profile, check. So if the user has said, I don't want my physical location data exposed, and so I've turned that off in the product, well, that's okay. They could, and then if they ran the validators again, yeah, it would fail, but that doesn't mean that the manufacturer was lying. So yeah, there's still going to be user choices on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, but I don't want to. We're not. This isn't a pipe dream, right? I mean, data sovereignty is already a
Absolutely.
legislated requirement of the EU. So a testable location is a done deal. Right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
And actually, so what are we using? Basically, we are using the location in order to get to the intensity, right? But we are also
That's
saying
the
that,
theory. Yeah.
That's the theory.
yeah, but we are also saying that, that might not be accurate considering that, some percentage of that might be actually renewable energy so is there a way for the user to sort of override that intensity that will be picked up based on this location?
We'll have to talk about that separately. That's not a problem for this profile. This will
Right.
just give you the energy telemetry and it'll give you a location, presumably that's attestable and a serial
Yeah,
number.
because otherwise there is no incentive, meaning if that can be done, then the user would not really see any use of putting the location over here. You see what I mean? Because of course there is that concern that maybe
we can tell them how it is intended to be used, right? But it's beyond the scope of this work to get the energy
What I'm
intensity.
saying is, no. What I'm saying is, basically there is that concern that maybe some users just don't want to put in their location for some security or something like that. Then they should be able to see what is the use of putting this in.
Oh,
Right.
well,
Right. So we can talk about the rationale and how it's intended to be used.
Yeah, and it's there up at the top of the document. That's one of the use cases is why is location data in this list?
Right. And by that, it seems like if they want it that way, then they will enter it. So like having it as supported or whatever recommended seems fine.
Well,
yeah, except that we want to get to a future where it isn't optional anymore. I think Jeff was just cautioning us not to jump there too soon.
Yeah, but remember,
Yeah, I sort of agree with that.
These are putting requirements on the manufacturer and the firmware to support that functionality. Whether a user decides to fill it in or puts everything at the North Pole, that's completely out of scope. But we as OCP, we need to make sure that if the user wants to place the location data in the products so that all this functionality works, the firmware's got to support that.
Yeah.
So that's where the requirements are.
Right, and the reason you can see it in the text here, right? The reason it has to be spec'd is because you have to say how to do it, like the ISO 3166, right? I mean, basically, for manageability work, you need to know not just is there data in this field, but how do I interpret the data in this field?
So you're saying the manufacturer has to mandatorily put in all the subfields within this location thing?
He has to put together a system that has a place to put that. The manufacturer doesn't put that in.
Yeah.
They certainly could if they have some magic way to do it. If it's done when you order the machines and tell me where it's going and I can pre-fill that in, or I got a GPS thingamajigger, I can fill that out automatically. But no, that is just, as Eric said, it is making sure that there is a place for the data to go and it is stored in a known format if it is provided.
When would it be updated? As in when would it be filled in?
Sure.
Yes, and then we can get into whether it's attested or not. Right.
No, I'm asking a question. When would it be filled in? When would these fields be filled in?
I mean, expectation would be that would be done by a customer once the as either as part of their deployment, as part of their deployment setup, or at some point when they realize that they need the data. So write a script to go to every product on this subnet and go place it at this location.
Yeah, it would be at installation and bring up surety. So just like in an Azure data center, you don't get parts from your ODM with software on it. You move it to an Azure data center, you load software on it, and then you connect it to your network. And that initialization step of provisioning it to go into production, that's when this would be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and what was the initial thought process why you folks had it as supported and not mandatory then?
Because, well, Jeff just walked us through that. It's the current location standards are ancient and generally not used by people. So they're trying to stand up some new ones that hopefully will be used, but they're not very well established yet. So if we require them, nobody's ready to do it yet.
Will that change what the fields are?
No.
Then how does that impact?
So if I take a product today and say, do you support the OCP sustainability profile? If you mark the answer will be no, because these fields are recent additions to the specification, to the redfish spec where they're defined. So it takes, there is time and again, until somebody gives a reason to implement these things, there's not a lot of drive to put it in there. Yes, there's lots of good use cases, but nothing is driving the manufacturers to go add this feature to their firmware. We will be that driver. And so the question is, how big of a hammer do we want to put, if we ship this tomorrow and, and 0 products can meet the requirements, sustainability, not just this work group, the sustainability as a whole needs to decide, what level of, how hard do we want to make the, where's the bar going to be for the first pass of this?
Yes. One step back, actually. So I thought Eric was saying that the fields are being changed is the reason we didn't want to make it mandatory.
They have been changed. So what you're seeing on the screen is material that was added to the specs in
a published spec already.
Yeah, physical address 2017. Can't get it from there.
These versions are the OCP manageability?
No. It was added to the redfish spec. Where the heck is it? I can't pull it up. It was
that's fine, but it's
less than 2 years ago. Yeah, but
okay. So, but then the fields are not being changed, right?
They are not being changed.
Going ahead.
They have been changed. That's
they have been changed.
What you're looking at is the resulting new, quote, relatively new versions.
Okay, I just can't put together the fields are not changing. Then why did we initially go with supported? I feel like we had this discussion earlier.
You're saying instead of mandatory?
So if you're a manufacturer, this is again, and we need to have this at a larger conversation with sustainability, is if I have a check mark that says, you meet the requirements of OCP sustainability, if I mark those fields as mandatory today, none of the products would meet that. So basically they would all get a red X, for their sustainability.
Aren't there other fields also which they will not be able to meet today?
No. Well, they're if they don't expose stuff, right, they won't meet it. But that is unique in the sense that that's a recent addition to the specification. So reporting power and energy has been around for a long time. So if they don't meet that, then then they truly don't meet the specs, right? So I mean, they don't meet the goals of sustainability.
You're saying all the other fields they can meet today.
Yeah.
These guys have, yeah.
So now, and again, if it depends on how sustainability wants to approach this. If we want to put a hard line and say we need to have that data now, or is it we want you to have that data, and as Eric points out, we don't have all of that carbon database to actually utilize this data, but it's going to take years for this stuff to filter into the data centers. So the faster we make these mandatory, the faster that can happen. The question is, are we going to, are people going to get ticked off at us at meeting OCP? It's like, I can't meet the requirements, today. So how hard of a line do we want to take on that? And I'm like, I don't have a strong opinion on that. I'd be happy to say, let's make them all mandatory you know, and then I'm going to get grief from my product folks to say,
Right.
you just made us do more work. Like, fine, well, guess what? No, I didn't. I made everybody do work. And besides, not really a big deal. Go take a guy and go code it up, and we'll test it tomorrow when he's done.
Right.
I don't think we are very close to, getting a certification process in or something saying that, oh, test all the current devices for OCP sustainability.
Well, but that's the point of the profile is we as a working group, we really want to have this data available, and it's did you meet the requirements? I can't go do all that interesting correlation data if it's if the data is not available. So like I said, it has to go into firmware, it has to get released, and then it has to actually get purchased and populated enough in the data center for there to be enough data available to make the tools work. And this is all a big vicious chicken and egg cycle.
Yeah.
So we do have to we got to put a foot down sometime. And the question is, do we do it now? And like I said, I placed it in here in the less controversial mode. If we want to move those to to mandatory, I'm fine with that, and we can go fight the good fight. And again, it's an industry thing. It's not adding cost to the product. It's making them go have somebody write that in firmware, and assuming you had a couple bytes of data left in your NVRAM, which, oh my gosh, this day and age, not a big deal. That's about a developer day of effort.
Yeah, and this will take a while to trickle down still, even
Oh yeah.
after it gets, like, we are not even at the point of acceptance yet, so.
Like I said, I took the light approach. We can take a heavier approach and then argue about it.
Yeah.
And a point of my understanding on that bytes of NVM data, Jeff, and this is just my ignorance, right? You have the location data as a supported thing, which is that different than mandatory or recommended? So if you have that, you already have the bytes.
Well, no. So the supported term in this context means you have it at least once in the product. So because the location data shows up in the physical data model. So if you actually have a multi-chassis device, I don't have to have location. I don't have to have those physical address stuff all down on every NIC and power supply and things like that, right? So as long as I have it at the rack mount server level, then you're good. So that's what supported means in the context of a profile.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, and I think as we link over to the other, just like you said, the general OCP manageability spec, then people will kind of align on this terminology and then understand too, hey, these are mandatory because they're mandatory over there anyway, right?
Yeah, because my end goal with this, from the manageability working group's perspective of this stuff, my goal for these profiles is it shows up on RFQs and it shows up on product literature in the like, I support the following manageability profiles, OCP, OCP sustainability, OCP good housekeeping seal of approval, check, and list those things out. Because that's what then gets the ecosystem the data they need to know, or they need to have to be able to go start doing more interesting things in their tool set. Yeah.
Okay.
We just named this, right, Danny? This is the OCP sustainability energy profile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One more thing, when we review in the main meeting, hopefully it does not take very long to set up the background and explain the purpose. So then when we are doing the review, can we go over every field during that review? I want to sort of make sure if there are concerns about any of the fields, they come up that right then.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think, and maybe the way to efficiently do that is to and I think I've got kind of maybe, I don't know if we need it. Maybe it's useful, Joe. I don't know. Should we say
so
almost like add a column and it says like if it's already mandatory for the general manageability profile, then it's like, hey, look, it's already mandatory there. And I don't know.
And there's a little bug in the documentation bit there that there's a bunch of stuff there that's actually it's duplicative. So, but if you go up to the use case, I think it pulls out more of the, here's the actual stuff we're talking about. So yeah, the sustainability use cases, that this probably is a better way to look at the this is the data we're talking about, right? So here's some relevant, chassis product information, there's your energy and power reporting, and then there's the product location data. So that's really the, that's really the kind of the data we're talking about. But yeah, we can walk through the individual fields. I'll just warn you, there's a documentation tool bug that puts a lot more lines on that in that guide than is really accurate. So like that environment metrics is actually a link, but it's unfortunately it's showing everything that's linked in that resource. So that everything that's indented there is actually not part of this profile.
Oh,
But this
okay.
is a documentation bug. It's a known issue and we're working on it.
Okay.
But if you go to the actual, it'd be real quick. I mean if you go click on the profile JSON file on the down you were there
Which,
over on the left, just one file up from where we're at right there. So there's the here, this is the exact list.
okay. Right. Resources.
And so you'll see there's probably every time there's the word property requirements lists out the thing. So on line 18 are the property requirements for the environment metrics. So there's power watts and energy kilowatt hours. Those are the two properties. And then down under chassis, you see there's manufacturer model, a link to the environment metrics, and then there's the location data, the physical address, ISO country code, subdivision code, and postal code. And then there's some more stuff down the page. But you can see what'd you get? Oh, that's neat. I haven't seen it done the hits like that before. So the references, that's nice. It's like it's nice when GitHub adds functionality that's useful.
You guys are
So yeah, you keep scrolling down, you'll see that when those property requirements, that's where the actual properties are listed.
very sad.
Yeah, and that's it. And then and there's some stuff under the sensors. We wanted the lifetime reading and
Reading.
I think we wanted I think I need to go back and add that. We wanted accuracy.
Accuracy. Yeah, let me capture that. I was gonna say that was the other one we were missing.
Oh, sensing interval is there, accuracy was not.
Exactly. Sensor. And then you had somewhere else how we do have, well, I guess that was a chassis high limit type of information, but that's at a chassis level, not a sensor level, right? I think if I go back to here, I think I had seen that somewhere. Where did I see that? These things, was it in here? These power limit things, are you saying these are ones that probably should come off?
Yeah, that's just a documentation mistake. If you scroll up, I think that's
part of this thing.
Yeah, that's a part of that same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a way we can manually pull that out of the spec from the? Just pull those out?
I'll go manually pull that out for now.
Okay.
Yeah,
just because that.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I might confuse people again of what the spec is, telemetry versus limits versus. Okay, cool. And I'll add that too. We got a couple minutes left. Let me just scroll really fast so we get a little bit of a sense, right? So all through that. We talked about this. Here's environmental metrics we talked about. And then, okay, so you do have the Redfish tools link already here. And then we might just need to add in here to the other manageability, the general Redfish manageability spec or profile manageability. Okay. What else? I think anything else?
So I have a question here from a storage point of view. So what data are you expecting to to get from, for example, devices such as GPUs or storage devices and CPUs, if we're not reporting some sort of the telemetry already?
So so I think the answer is going to depend on, do you mean, if you mean an individual device, like something within a server, we're not mandating, individual like device levels. It's only the total.
Sure.
Basically, anything that has a power plug is the level of power and energy reporting we're asking for. They're certainly able to do all that, but that's not, we aren't getting any more, we're not making any requirements for more granular.
But we were going to recommend that list of devices, right? Like CPU.
Oh, I think it's listed as recommendations, but yeah, but we're
Right.
not making those as requirements.
Where is that? I don't know. How does that?
It's there in environment metrics. It's effectively the profile. It shows up because it's the same data.
Under environment, let me double check. Where under here?
Yeah, so you see there's the way it's worded there, so it says supported on power watts and energy watts. So that means as long as the product reports power and energy at least once, then it meets the profile.
Okay, but I don't think but we probably need to add on here like our expectations of like CPU must report this, memory must report this, fans must report speed at first, right? And then we talked about I think we had talked, what else was it? Was it just that as the minimum? CPU, memory, fan speed. I remember we had talked about if a PSU is present, those losses, but and we had talked about putting that later we would have, PCIe cards and all those kinds of things on there. But I think at the minimum we wanted that, right? Chassis, CPU, memory, fans.
We talked about, but we didn't put that in the profile as a mandatory requirement. We backed off to just say
recommended
a plug level.
Jeff, do you already have an inventory of devices in the chassis or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that what we want?
So yeah, and Eric, there's going to be a scope question on some of that because there's lots of baseline manageability stuff that we have, device inventory covered.
Okay.
And
yeah,
so
if it's covered elsewhere, that's okay. I just point to it. We got to make sure that in the OCP profile writ large, right, with this factored into it, we have that information.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so the line I wanted to take was let's that kind of detail that would that hit that almost every time we get into any manageability topic. And so I didn't want to do effectively keep duplicating the same requirements over and over.
Yep. Yeah, I get
that. So kind of just threw all that out. There's statements at the top that say like, hey, you got to have enough basic information to identify the product, but how many processors and how much memory and et cetera, like didn't put that here because that's if you're not covering that, in basic manageability, you've got other problems.
Yeah,
but I do want to call out here that we are inheriting that requirement from elsewhere, and it's a known already present piece of data.
Right, that this is an addition.
We'll need that. The right place to put that, Danny, is in the sustainability use cases.
Yeah.
And I can help write it if you want, right? Because the thing we're after, Jeff, is eventually we're going to have a way to estimate or interrogate automatically the embodied footprint of those devices, and we need a precise inventory of what they are in order to do that.
Yep.
Totally understand that.
Okay, I can take a stab at it and we can.
Okay. Yeah, great.
But yeah, this is like you said, in addition to that base one.
Yeah, and it's okay if it's an inherited requirement versus we made it mandatory here too. I get that, right?
Yep.
But the implicit assumption should be an explicit assumption, is my point.
Yeah, it'll help people. Yeah, for sure. Okay, we're at the hour. Any other feedback? I've captured quite a few little things, so this has been good. And then
And
on
by the way, I did find that physical location data. It's actually newer than I thought, I guess, because it sat around and had to worked on for quite a while. But that was just added to the public specs about 9 months ago.
Wow, okay.
So yeah,
In management time, that's instantaneous.
exactly.
I got off the press, right?
Would you be able to provide a link to where all this specific documentation is, please?
It's in the chat.
Yeah, right there. The sustainability profile is what we were just looking at, the link he just provided. The second link he provided.
The GitHub one, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Correct,
Oh.
yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you, guys. Great
All right,
feedback.
thanks, everyone.
Okay, take care.